to uh, Secretary General of Global Tiger Forum, Rajesh Gopal, who will talk about bringing local communities to work on tiger conservation and talk about ecosystem services as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me the floor. Your Excellency Chichin Ko, Honorable Minister, dignitaries on the dais, dear participants. I really appreciate Russia's efforts in organizing the second forum meet. I tried my level best to make it, physically be there with you all, but owing to reasons beyond my control, could not make it. I'm happy to see so many people participating in this great event. Once again, compliment all of you. I must make a special mention of few Tiger Range countries for their achievements here. As an intergovernmental platform, we are working very closely with all TRCs. And recently, of course, we had a meeting here, physical meeting with very senior officials from TRCs. I appreciate efforts, hard work done by India, who have more than 75% of the global wild tigers in the source areas. My colleague, Dr. Yadav, is there, and he made a nice presentation. I appreciate efforts done by Russia. In the morning, got an update when I was hearing. I was glad to hear the efforts between China and Russia and in the context of tigers. So last time when I'd been to Vladivostok, we could get a real update on this. And then I appreciate efforts done by most of the South Asian tiger range countries like Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal in particular. They've all doubled almost their wild tigers. And Nepal has gone a little beyond as well. Then Southeast Asian TRCs, several of them that have done very well. But situation continues to be a bit suboptimal in three tiger range countries, Laos, PDR, Vietnam, and Cambodia. Locally, perhaps they are extinct. Our missions have been going there, and we could get a feel of that. But I appreciate the efforts, the passion shown by Cambodia in bringing back the tigers, and we were there along with Dr. Yadav, the Indian government mission was there. I was also there along with them, and they are in readiness, preparing themselves to bring wild tigers. I appreciate all that. I must make a mention of Kazakhstan. For the update we got during the last meet here at New Delhi, they are working very hard, and we appreciate that. Having said all that, um, uh, it's a very happy moment to be here virtually with you guys for the second forum meet. The last one, it of course, as Mr. Keshav Verma said, we can't help but get nostalgic about St. Petersburg meet. Anyway, now, the global status of tiger continues to remain endangered despite all hard work, and there are new threats, and most of these threats are landscape related, leaving apart the traditional threats like getting killed, the trafficking of body parts. We have been discussing, articulating on this in the GTRP sessions. Those remain. In addition to that, the contours of forests, tiger-bearing forests, have undergone a change, and and then there are issues like what was discussed at length a short while ago on rehabilitating the phasing out the tiger farms. I'll just speak on that if time permits, little bit adding more to what Mr. Keshav Verma spoke. And then I also appreciate the active role played by Malaysia recently in very successfully hosting the Kuala Lumpur meet in giving shape to the declaration. Now, there are three things which are there in this theme in this session. I'll briefly touch upon all of them. Of course, the moderator can cut me if I'm exceeding my time limit. Now, number one is fostering awareness. I very much appreciate the elaborate articulation, the presentation done by Irina. Uh, I would just wrap it up by saying it's high time we put them all and give shape to that as a citizen science. And India has done something in this context. Several tiger range countries have started this. So the involvement of citizen in not only assessing the abundance, but also in their stewardship in protecting them. All age groups are important here. Citizen science means the children, the grown-ups, and the aged people. Everyone can do their bit. Quite often, people ask us, "What can I really do? I don't belong to the Forest Service. I don't belong to the Wildlife Management Service. Please let me know." That's very commendable. So we need to give shape to this with some normatives. And now these are the days where the social media is very active. I'm sure we can do that. Coming to local people, the second important thing inbuilt in this very important theme session, the local people, they are the primary stakeholders. We know it very well. And then, of course, we have the government department, the secondary stakeholders, we have the non-governmental players, the business group, the tertiary stakeholders. All of them are very important. We have to look beyond the portals of the tiger source areas. That is what I had sent some slides, but never mind. I'll just touch upon those very briefly. What were there in those three or four slides? So the community, coming back to the community stewardship, we don't want the stewardship that is their role in protecting, their role in keeping track of moving animals. Of course, they require capacity building and also gains, money. Without that, this is the inclusive agenda, and this also qualifies as a payment for ecosystem services. The services they are doing are very obvious. They are their stewardship in guarding the source area and beyond. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult without this engagement. Now, apart from this local people, the other ones which I spoke a short while back, the other players who are operating in the larger landscape, they are also very important. This is exactly what we now call as the landscape approach, the kind of engagement to address the ever-changing human-wildlife, human-tiger interface. That's a very, very serious issue prevailing in all tiger range countries, including Russia. Last time when I was there in Vladivostok, there was an issue nearby of a cattle livestock getting depredated by a wild tiger. So these issues not only there, not only in India, it's a very serious issue in countries like Bhutan. You name it, you have it. You have so many tiger range countries. Unless this is addressed, unless the revenge killings which go with this is it's also addressed, and then the targeted killings and the trafficking of body parts and derivative all linked together, then the sustainability theme, which is also built in this session, is very important, easier said than done. Lot many things have been articulated on this, but we need to link this with the climate agenda, the omnibus climate agenda, because the tiger effort, I feel, at this juncture, in the new GTRP version, we have to see this as a multidimensional effort. Now, by that I mean we need to treat this as an index of biodiversity. In the context of snow leopard, we can say, as Mr. Verma used to say, he says now also, the snow leopards are indicate the well-being of the glaciers and so on. Likewise, the tigers are indicators of the overall biodiversity, the holistic health of the ecosystem, but there are stressors. and the stresses are both natural as well as anthropogenic. But in most of the tiger range countries, the natural stresses, the environmental stochastic events over which we have no control, they are surpassed by man-made stressors. The change in land uses. In every country, a sovereign country, has a growth agenda. You can't wish it away. We have to grow. Countries have to grow, and you can't. But one thing we should remember, dear participants and the dignitaries, that we can't grow at the cost of our green capital. And that is precisely what we should resolve, that we should grow well, we should grow green. Now, for the next decade or so, growing green becomes extremely significant and crucial for tigers to live. Now, as I said, a little more on this, the stressors are there, the 18 or 19 stressors which have brought in and which are bringing in some kind of a transformation. No country is exception to that, to this. It's a phenomena, global phenomena. And the experience is felt more in developing countries. You have some areas where the sovereign governments have set them aside as parks and sanctuaries. Fair enough. Just for a moment, let's not think about them. But what is the fate of other rural areas? Rapidly, there is an urbanization cycle which is happening there. And what about the already urban areas? They are also having problems. You have the pollutions, you have the urban flora, the urban fauna, the weeds. Now, there is a vicious cycle which is creeping in. And tiger agenda is very much eligible for qualifies under green principle categories. We have the environmentally sustainable management thing, which is a legal thing, legitimate thing under the green principle, and we need that to happen in the areas beyond tiger source areas. We have sustainable water and watershed management. My former colleague, Dr. Yadav spoke about this in his presentation. We have the adaptation to climate change. Now, ladies and gentlemen, all these things enable us to come solicit complementary funding under green principles. We need to do that. We need to resolve for the coming decade. And above all, now we all have felt the bad effects of pandemic, apart from tiger bearing forests helping us in adaptation towards climate change by locking up new carbon, old carbon, and so on and so forth, and the ecosystem services. The dilution effect which these tiger bearing forests provide, they are going unnoticed, because the zoonotic cycle distortions are prevented if tiger bearing forests are remaining sustainably. So we need to tell the global society at this juncture, look, this investment is important for mankind. So if more tiger bearing forests are there, or if we arrest their deterioration, we'll do much more to the society. Ladies and gentlemen, there are so many other things to share with you, but looking at the time, I stop here. And thank you so very much. Thank you, Your Excellency, for giving me the floor. Thank you very much.
Спасибо большое, господин генеральный секретарь. Действительно,
Thank you very much, Mr. General Secretary. Yes, what we have been discussing is extremely important and most relevant. Yes, we need to combine best practices and to systematize the best experience, because it is not correct when every country is inventing a bicycle. And the second thing, we need to discuss the issues of global financing, because unfortunately we haven't moved forward. You are saying that, yes, we need to invest forest development, but right now it is a matter for each country individually, but probably we need to look for some answers on a global level, and this is one of the tasks for the Global World Initiative. And Mr. Rajab Gopal spoke a lot about involving local people in preservation of tigers. Now let's pass the floor to Grigory Litkov, who is a representative of the Indigenous Peoples Association. Thank you very much, Mr. Chuchenko.